Well, welcome and thank you for tuning in. I am Michael Santos. I host a podcast called the Earning Freedom Podcast. It's available on iTunes. It's free. If you have been indicted or you are facing challenges with the criminal justice system, I really urge you to take a look at that podcast because it's free and you'll learn an awful lot about my experiences as well as you will learn from other people whom I've interviewed, and they will be sharing their stories about their experiences through the criminal justice system and what steps that they made during the pretrial proceeding era and what they wish they would have done differently. Because if you have been indicted, without a doubt, I can help. In fact, not I, but we can help. I work together with my partner, Justin Paperny. We operate a number of different websites, including, besides michaelsantos.com, we have prisonprofessor.com, we have federalprisonadvice.com, we have etica.com. We have a number of websites where we provide an abundance of products and services to help anybody who has been indicted. So what I really encourage you to do is to share this presentation with your defense attorney or with anybody else that you know who is facing challenges from the criminal justice system, because the reality is the greatest fear is the fear of the unknown, and it's our job to try and remove some of those fears. So who are we? As I said in the beginning, I am Michael Santos, and a little bit later during this webinar, I will be providing you some in-depth background on my experiences and why I'm qualified to lead a discussion and help you emerge successfully from this journey. But to give you the bullet point answer, I made some bad decisions when I was 20 years old, actually even much younger than that. But when I was 20, those bad decisions really took a turn for the worse when I began breaking the law. I was arrested when I was 23, and my judge imposed a term of 45 years in federal prison. I served that time in prisons of every security level, a total of 26 years on that 45-year sentence, which is every day that I possibly could have served on that sentence, as long as I didn't violate any disciplinary infractions. Some of you may wonder how that's possible. Well, when I was arrested and convicted back in 1987, there was a different sentencing law in place than exists today, and there was more good time associated with federal prison terms. So that has changed since then. Although I was sentenced prior to the new law that exists today, I served time with thousands, tens of thousands of people who served time under the new law. And you'll learn how I help them and how I can help you, how we can help you. What's really important, or the salient point for you to remember, is that I served time in prisons of every security level, and I had incomparable success in every one of those prisons. But more importantly, I came back to society strong, with my dignity intact, ready to provide value to others who are facing challenges. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you through this webinar. But first of all, let's get some house cleaning done. Make sure that when you're going through this video, this webinar, this free product, I'd love for you to just have the best experience possible. And the way to do that is really to make the screen big so that you can see the slides. I want you to turn your phones off if you can. I mean, you'll always be able to come back and revisit it. But to the extent that you close the door and you focus on this very important task of learning what steps you can take to position yourself for the lowest possible sentence, for early release from prison, for the best possible experience through prison, and also for your return to society strong, with your dignity intact and with new opportunities to rebound and have a successful, fulfilling, meaningful, relevant life, because I know that's something that all of you want. So feel free to take your pen out and take some paper for notes, but I will be providing this slideshow free of charge to anybody who chooses to download it. All you've got to do is send me an email. My email is at the bottom of the screen, michael@michaelsantos.com. If you just click on that link there, or send me a video, an email, I will be very happy to send you these slides. I give away more content and products than I sell, because I truly know what it is like to be in your shoes, and I truly know that you need guidance as you're going through these challenges. So what are the specific points we're going to be covering in this webinar? Let me tell you that the first thing that I want to tell you is that this is the most important time of your life. Now, I know that when you were At other stages in your life, you took preparations to prepare, whether you are a professional and you had to take a licensing exam. You consulted with courses. You consulted with people who had gone through it. When you were even going back to when you were trying to get into college, you consulted with courses that would help you score higher on the SAT or on the GMAT or on the LSAT or whatever course, whether it was a brokerage course or a real estate course. You studied, you prepared yourself, or you did on-the-job training. Well, it's very important, just as it was back then, to invest your time, your energy, and your resources to prepare. Do not underestimate the importance of preparing yourself. I really encourage you. Do not outsource all of your decisions to your defense attorney. You need to position yourself so that you can more effectively help your defense attorney position you for the best possible outcome. And if you've never gone through it, then you don't know how. I can assure you through this webinar, you are going to learn steps that you can begin taking today to begin positioning yourself for a better outcome. So let's first of all talk a little bit about the agenda. First of all, I want you to know that this webinar is going to go about 60 minutes. It could go a little bit longer because sometimes I tend to be verbose and provide a lot of stories of things that I've learned from people I've learned while I was incarcerated. I will start off after I finish this little agenda, giving you some insight into my background so you'll know exactly who I am and what I have done. I'll provide you with strategies that empowered me and that I am convinced can absolutely empower you. I will provide you with case studies. So you're not only going to be learning about my experiences, but you're going to be learning about the countless number of people that I have helped. And I encourage you, don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence. Look me up on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and you're going to find that every day there are new testimonials coming out of people who had a better experience because of the guidance and the services and the products that I have provided, not only since I've been out of prison, but also throughout the entire journey. And what is the objective of this entire webinar? It is to show how and why our services can position you for success. So I definitely want to be doing that with you today. I want to give you some actionable takeaways so that you can position yourself for the earliest possible release, so that you can also, be working to position yourself for this all-important sentencing hearing that may be coming up in your life. I want you to be understanding what steps you can take to put yourself in the position where you serve your time in the best possible prison, regardless of what security level you have. I want you to understand how this system works and what you can be doing to ensure that you're serving your time inside of an institution that can be of value to you and your family, so that you can use every day in a manner that will help you restore your dignity, help you restore your strength, your confidence, so that you will no longer feel as though you're a marionette puppet going through this system with other people pulling the strings and determining what's going on in your life. I'd love to give you the actionable takeaway so that you can understand what steps you can be taking to ensure you get the maximum amount of community confinement when the appropriate time comes. I'd love for you to know what you can be doing to make sure that you can enhance your level of liberty on the other end of this journey when you begin your term on supervised release. I would like it if you walked away from this webinar understanding what you can begin doing today to position yourself for a successful career when you get out of prison. And so I want you to know as I begin this show, to tell you again my background, because I don't want to leave you with any doubt that I have a depth and breadth of experience that is going to prove valuable to you. But you can again, I always encourage you, do your due diligence. My name is Michael Santos. I'm the easiest guy to find on Google. There's a gazillion articles in there about me, and it's because I'm authentic, I'm transparent, and I'll tell you that in the beginning of my journey, I had some bad guidance. I was inspired by somebody you may recognize, Tony Montana. He was starring in a popular film back in the mid-1980s when I was just a kid. I was about 20 years old, and I saw that movie Scarface, and I just had this crazy vision that I would be able to live this life as he lived his life, just pursuing, a lot of excitement in the world. And as a consequence of that, there came a time when, I needed a lawyer. And I hope that you've made better decisions than I made with regard to which attorney represented you. But I chose an attorney out of South Florida that I truly believed was going to wiggle my way out of problems that I created. But the reality is, I had a guy like You Better Call Sal from that popular television show. What's it called? Breaking Bad. And my attorney, unfortunately, gave me some very bad advice, some very bad guidance as I was facing some very serious charges in the criminal justice system. And I followed those charges. Why? Because my attorney had told me that, I need to outsource everything to him. He is in charge. He is the quarterback. I am simply going to be a spectator in this entire proceeding. That was really, really, really foolish of me. And I really want you to be thinking about what role are you having in collaborating with your defense attorney and understanding all of the options that are available to you, and in understanding what you can be doing to position yourself for the best possible outcome. So, fortunately, after I was convicted, after I was sentenced, after I was, waiting for this really awkward phase of my pre-sentence investigation hearing and followed by my sentence, I was inspired by somebody who was much, much more positive. And I can still remember the day. Any of you who have heard me in my public speaking events may have heard me tell this story. But I was locked inside of a jail cell. And while I was in there, I came across a philosophy book. I don't know how I came across that philosophy book, because I certainly was not a good student. I was not the type of person who would have read philosophy. But when you're convicted and facing a sentence that, as I was, of life without the possibility of parole, and you're 23 years old, looking back, reflecting on how did I get here, you start to pray. And really, that's what I did. I started to pray and ask God for guidance, not necessarily to get me out of prison, but rather just give me the strength to get through this journey. And excuse me, I've got some allergies, so I'll be scratching my nose throughout this video, and I don't have the editing skills to edit. But I just want you to know what this whole process was like in my life. And I want you to understand, what did I do? What should I have done better? I watched this movie of Socrates. I read this book. I found this book called A Treasury of Philosophy. I read the story of Socrates. What really moved me and inspired me about him is that he was also in jail. He was awaiting the carrying out of his sentence. He was convicted, and he had been sentenced to death. And it was his response to that sentence that really spoke to me. It really inspired me to want to use my time in prison in a productive way, in a way so that at some point in the future, people like you who are looking at this video would see me as a resource, as a valuable guide to help you get through this journey. In fact, I had so many inspirations while I was in there. Socrates was the first, but as I advanced through this journey further, I had many other inspiring figures who guided me, most of whom I never met because they lived thousands of years ago. Through literature, I was able to find my way and really embrace this concept that gold is tested through the fire of adversity. And when you're going through adversity, when you're going through struggle, you absolutely have to find a way to emerge from it stronger and more valuable than ever before. And if you use the products and services that my partner Justin and I provide, you too will emerge from this experience significantly stronger than you are right now. So it begins with really thinking about the stakeholders, thinking about who is sitting in judgment of you. The judge is going to be somebody you've got to be thinking about. Who is he? Chances are it's a former prosecutor. And as a former prosecutor, he's looking at you with a cynical eye. So be thinking about that judge. Be thinking about other stakeholders, such as the prosecutor himself. What is his objective? What is his mission? What is he trying to do? Think about your probation officer. Where is that individual getting his information? And truly, how interested is that probation officer in your story? What can you do to move the needle and change the way these individuals are thinking about you? So think about these stakeholders, including those who are coming in the prison system, because they will be overseeing your life for a long period of time in the event that a guilty plea follows these proceedings. And so it's my job to try and help you understand that. It's my job to help you see what steps you can take to position yourself for the best possible outcome. So I'm noticing this little screen up here in the top of my computer. So I'm going to try and see what it does, but actually I can't see it. So pardon with me as I continue recording this webinar here. So I've asked you to look at the prison system. I'm also going to ask you to be looking at the avatars. What's an avatar? Well, I'm going to tell you that's something that I thought about after I had that revelation from studying Socrates, is I began thinking about, people like you, law-abiding, contributing citizens, individuals who have held positions of leadership and strength. And I started to think, what, if anything, could I do to earn your trust, to earn your respect, to persuade you to see me as something different from the stupid kid I was when I was 20 years old and selling coke? What could I do to have you see me as something else on the other end of this journey? And I came up with this three-pronged approach. The first of it was education. I had to focus, I knew while I was inside, on educating myself. Second, I knew that in order to persuade my avatars, I would need to be thinking about contributing to society in some type of meaningful, measurable way. And if you can see these posters behind me, you'll see that I do a number of things. I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of consulting, a lot of teaching. So I'm always striving to add value to society, but I didn't begin that when I got out of prison. I actually embarked upon that journey all the way through the 9,500 days that I lived as a federal prisoner. The other important concept that my avatars would expect of me would be to build a very strong support network, to find people to believe in me, because if other people could believe in me, it would make it easier for people like you to believe in me. And it's really important that we build this level of authenticity and trust. And that's really what I wanted to do. And so I executed that plan. It was, number one, to focus on education. Number two, to focus on contribution. Number three, to focus on building a support network. And I can just rattle it off like that because it's what guided every decision that I made throughout my journey in prison. And it is what continues to guide me now that I'm out here in society. But while I was inside, I earned my undergraduate degree from Mercer University. I got my master's degree from Hofstra University. I was studying toward a PhD at the University of Connecticut until I ran into some resistance from the Bureau of Prisons, and I had to pivot and change my focus. Not a problem. Remember that I had a three-pronged approach. One was education, two was contribution, and those are some of the books that I wrote while I was incarcerated. I wrote Inside: Life Behind Bars in America, Prison: My 8,344th Day, Earning Freedom, which is a lengthy book that describes the entire journey that I was in prison, Success: The Straight A Guide, a book that's part of a course I use to teach at-risk adolescents about prison, a book that is used in criminal justice courses across the country, Profiles from Prison, another academic book, and Triumph: The Straight A Guide to really conquering a lengthy prison sentence. And, that was part of my contribution to society. And then I told you that it was also important for me to build a very strong support network. As you can see, I was profiled on PBS NewsHour. You could watch that video. I've got links to that video on both of my websites at michaelsantos.com and prisonprofessor.com. So you don't have to take my word for it. You could also see a profile on NBC where I was profiled on the Bay Area Proud series of work that I was doing soon after I emerged from prison and while I was in prison. You could look on my website and you will see that there are links to all of those periodicals, among many others. Some of those articles were articles that were profiled about me. Others are places where I have contributed as a contributing author. I've been a contributing author to Business Insider, to Forbes, to the Huffington Post, and other periodicals as well. I think the other ones up there were all profiles on my journey through prison. But building that support network also included me, while I was incarcerated, marrying the love of my life. That's Carol. I supported her while I was incarcerated from work that I did and writing books and earning a living. So I was served a lengthy time in prison, but it was a rich life in prison where I earned a lot of money that was able to use to support my family and to prepare myself to emerge successfully. I may have walked out with a 000 credit score, but I had enough money in the bank to live a full life, meaning start my venture, a business around my journey. I had sufficient savings in the bank from money that I earned while I was in prison, so that I didn't have to earn a living for the first. If I didn't earn a living for the first year, I would be okay. That wasn't an accident. It was part of a very deliberate plan, and that's really what I want to help you embark upon, is a deliberate plan. Because if you're indicted, you have to have a plan. You have to know, how am I going to crush it? How am I going to get through this? How am I going to come back to society with my dignity intact? And you can absolutely do it. Don't ever believe that you can't. However, it is not going to happen by accident. It is going to require the same type of concept of visualize the best possible outcome, create your plan, and then execute that plan every single day. That is the key. I got out of prison on August the 13th, 2013. No, strike that. I transitioned into a halfway house on August the 12th. August 13th, 2012. I did my last year in the San Francisco halfway house. And then after I finished my obligation to the Bureau of Prisons on August the 12th, 2013, and 3 weeks later, I was visiting San Francisco State University. They offered me a position to become an adjunct professor. And that's why I have a site now called Prison Professor, because I taught at the university for a year. I would encourage you to do your due diligence on me. You'll see there's an abundance of media on that. You can actually even go to Rate My Professor and see how my students rated me. I've got outstanding reviews from my students. I taught for a year there. But while I was simultaneously doing that, I was trying to build my financial stability in society. Although I had a 000 credit score, I embarked upon a plan to become a real estate investor. You can see that was the first property on the left of that slide that I was building. I bought brand new. That in the middle, that's what the house looks like now. I have great tenants in there that are funding my retirement. That house on the right was my second piece of investment real estate that I purchased down here in Southern California, and I've got great tenants in there as well. I continue working to build my real estate portfolio. In fact, I have another site that you may see where I am sharing other people. Look, if I can do 26 years in prison, come out, make nearly be on my path to making my first $1 million in society, just think what you can do. And so that's a different service that I offer. But I'm all authentic. I'm totally transparent. I can assure you that I totally get it. My journey and experience was not typical, but neither was it an accident. It was the course of really visualizing success. It was the course of truly executing a plan so that I could emerge exactly as I wanted to emerge. And that is exactly what I try to share and teach with all of my clients, with everybody who works with me. Because the reality is, people who come out, they face really big problems. They've got to deal with these issues of an employment market that doesn't want to open opportunities for them, asking questions whether they've been convicted of a felony, whether there's a box on a form or not. If an individual doesn't have a very strong plan to overcome challenges of a criminal conviction, it's got enormous complications. And so it's my job to try and show people the strategies that work for me, why they can use them, even if they've gone through troubles like a foreclosure, even if they've gone through troubles such as having a very poor credit score. I had a 000 credit score when I walked out of prison, when I concluded my obligation to the Bureau of Prisons 2 years ago. And currently my credit score is north of 700. I've got 2 pieces of real estate, drive a brand new Mercedes-Benz. I don't say that to pat myself on the back, but rather to say that if you embark upon a solid plan, you can emerge from this experience stronger than you ever imagined. You don't want to go the path that many people endure when they're going through prison. They don't know what's going on. Their marriages are breaking apart. Their families are breaking apart. Their whole life is being disrupted. Not only are they divorced from the people they love, but they can become estranged from all of their support network. They can have enormous conflict while they are incarcerated. Why? Because they don't understand the magnitude of challenge that exists in trying to navigate your way around a prison system where, frankly, you're going to be around a lot of people who are from different socioeconomic backgrounds than you are, and you're going to be dealing with a series of prison staff members who may resent you for a level of success that you could have had in the past, or resent you because of the nature of your crime, or resent you just because you're a prisoner and they can. I mean, think it through. Think through who are the people who are working for the prison system, and understand their job from their perspective. If you're inside of a prison, they don't necessarily look at you as if you share a common humanity. And it's just very important, to the extent that you can understand that, you can avoid some of the conflict that's inside. And so, we help you through a number of products that include consulting services, where we work one-on-one with you. I got to tell you that my partner does a lot more of that than I do. The one-on-one work, I am much more specialized work. I do much more specialized work with our clients. But Justin is an outstanding consultant, and he's available all the time. People find him responsive. You will see testimonials of his work. I'll give you more information on Justin a little bit later in our presentation. You can see that I wrote a number of lesson plans that for the individuals who want to go the self-study route, and they can enroll in a program that either through Federal Prison Advice, which we call our Blueprint, where all of these courses are available in a membership area. We also have them available on a downloadable system as well. We have got a reputation management course, which I really encourage people to be thinking about. And that is start sowing seeds today, so that when you come home, people in society are going to see you as something other than what the prosecutor's version of events is, or what Google says today. And of course, as I said, we offer a lot of expert advice through Skype consulting, personal live event consulting. However we can serve our clients. We try to understand, hey, what is your pain point? What are you suffering and struggling through right now? What do you want to know about the system that you're not getting that guidance from your defense attorney? And we want you to understand, what is the best possible outcome? What can you have from this experience? Because to the extent that you understand it, you can truly begin positioning yourself for a far better outcome than if you don't. And we can help. We can absolutely help you. As I told you, my partner and friend is Justin Paperny. He is a graduate from University of Southern California. Got his business degree, became a stockbroker, and built pretty strong career at, I think he was at UBS and Bear Stearns, but got in trouble. It can happen to anybody. And Justin was in trouble. I met him when we were inside of a minimum security prison camp. While we were together, we worked hard on positioning himself for a new career. You can see his book, Lessons from Prison. If you send us an email, you'll get a free copy of Justin's book. He has been out in society now for about 5 or 6 years, I think, and has been building a career as a consultant. But he's fundamentally different from other people in the space. Why can I say that? I know, because I worked with Justin, and I vet Justin, and I trust Justin. And anybody who works with him will find him a man of honor and integrity, honest, authentic, and he doesn't tell you what he doesn't know, but he's always got access to me. And there's nothing about that system that I don't know, that I don't only know, but I know how to crush through those barriers and obstacles that other people, frankly, don't have the experience of doing. So, we work as a team, and I encourage you to reach out to Justin. I provide his contact information at the end of this webinar. But just send him an email, and you'll get a free copy of his ebook, and you can even book a free consulting call with him. But so let's go on a little bit further about what you can expect now. We're kind of in the heart of this presentation, and it's what you're going through right now. You're dealing with a defense attorney, and it's really important for you to understand what that defense attorney is doing for you. We do not provide legal advice. What we do is we provide insight to what we have learned and experienced, not only personally, but through anecdotal evidence that we have gathered from working with thousands, tens of thousands of people, really. Because I barely began doing this more than 25 years ago when I was going through this system and coaching other people in prison. And you can read about that. Don't take my word for it, just read about it, because I'm all over the web. But your defense attorney, what he's going to be doing is guiding you through the judicial process. What's that? That's getting you to that phase of guilty or not guilty. And it's my hope that you have got the most competent, the most experienced, the most authentic and trustworthy defense attorney guiding you. Because it's really unfortunate that in the event that you get into the federal prison system, you are going to meet a lot of people who are going to have something else to say about their defense attorney. They're going to talk about this cliche. It was meet 'em, greet 'em, and plead 'em. What does that mean? It means that my defense attorney was all about the sales call when I was signing up. But then as soon as I exhausted my resources, whether I spent 50 grand, 100 grand, 500 grand, after I spent a considerable fortune, then it began shifting towards pleading guilty. And sometimes that's the way it goes. But what I can say is a lot of people in prison express thoughts that they did not have a defense attorney who was fighting valiantly for them. I can tell you that if you reach out through us, any of the defense attorneys we recommend, we personally vet, we know them, and I would not recommend them. I would not recommend them if I didn't have a very high level of confidence that they are honorable and they will serve you well. So we do not provide any legal advice. We help people in the event that there is a guilty plea. And unfortunately, although nobody wants to believe it, a lot of the people, when you're indicted by the federal government, there's going to come a time when you're going to be standing before a federal judge at a sentencing hearing. Don't take my word for it. I'm providing this link up there, the United States Attorney's Annual Statistical Report. You can see for yourself that the United States government indicts about 80, 90,000 people a year. And they've got about a 91% conviction rate. So, I truly hope that you're going to be one of those, 1 out of 10 that don't go into the prison system, that don't get convicted. But unfortunately, that's not the case for 9 out of the people who are indicted. So understand it. And that's why it's important for you to know what we do. Okay? What we do is we prepare you if a guilty verdict follows. And it's everybody's hope that a guilty verdict never follows. But I would ask you, if you got a car, right? You got insurance, not because you want to have an accident, but you need to know what's going to happen. You need to know you're covered in the event that there is an accident. Why do you have homeowners insurance? Do you want your house to burn down? Of course not. But you want to have coverage. You want to know that in the event that something doesn't go as I had planned, I got to be covered. We provide some cover. How? We guide you. We invite you to understand what's coming. For example, the pre-sentence investigation report. Here's where I'm going to give you some case studies. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine who's a medical doctor, but was really a bright guy. Jeff is his name, and Jeff was so bright that he didn't even finish high school. In high school, he decided to go to college. Instead, got his undergraduate degree in biology, went on to medical school, and got an MD from, I think, Einstein School of Medicine in New York, and then opened up a practice on the Upper East Side of New York, where he had his clinic for more than 25 years. Unfortunately, Jeff became a target of a criminal investigation and was indicted. When he was indicted, he eventually pleaded guilty and was convicted, and had to position himself for the proceedings that followed. And the first proceeding that follows after a conviction is a meeting with a probation officer who asks a series of questions. And those questions are taken onto the pre-sentence investigation report, otherwise known as the PSI or the PSR. And whether the judge pays much attention to that pre-sentence investigation report or not is beside the point. What is important is that pre-sentence investigation report has an enormous influence on the journey through prison and on the journey on the other side of a prison sentence. So it's crucial to understand that pre-sentence investigation report before you meet with a probation officer. Now, Jeff didn't have that knowledge or that insight. And when he did his pre-sentence investigation report, he made some problems that exposed him to a much more difficult journey in prison. I'll give you an example. What happened is the Bureau of Prisons has a rule. It states that if you do not have a high school diploma or a GED, you're mandated to attend these classes for the GED. Now, Jeff had a medical degree. He was a business owner. He had a business for 25 plus years, a medical practice where he employed more than 30 people. Yet, he goes and he meets with the bureaucrats in the Bureau of Prison, and they look at his pre-sentence investigation report. Well, it shows that you don't have a GED or a high school diploma. He said, we're going to have to enroll you in the GED class. And Jeff said, that's ridiculous. They said, no, that's a fact. You're going to be in the class. Jeff said, but I have a medical degree. So yeah, well, we have a lot of people in here with advanced degrees, but they don't have a high school diploma. And our research shows that if you don't have a high school diploma, you're going to have to sit in the class. And so what does that mean? It means that every single day, Jeff's got to be sitting in this ridiculous classroom learning to read stories about how Spot runs, or how Jack and Jill climbed the hill, or how to do simple arithmetic calculations. Why? Because he didn't document that PSI in the appropriate way. And of course, there are much more sinister problems with not documenting the PSI, because if it's not prepared effectively, you may not qualify for the only program in the prison system where prison administrators can advance the release date of an individual. A lot of people want to participate in that program. It's called the Residential Drug Abuse Program, RDAP, but they don't know how. And they don't know how to prepare that PSI in such a way. And so when they go in there, they say the wrong thing. And when they say the wrong thing, they are forever forbidden from having an early release from their prison term. Not only that, but they can face some more challenges while they're in prison. So we really encourage our clients to understand the pre-sentence investigation report. And where am I now? I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about that. So I was in prison. I didn't learn these keynotes, and so I made this myself. We also prepare you for the sentencing hearing. Really, really important. Now, a lot of defendants choose to simply just outsource that entire process to the defense attorney. And the defense attorneys will tell them, hey, I'm going to write a sentencing narrative. It's going to be like a third-person perspective. And what does that mean? It's the defense attorney talking about why you deserve the lowest sentence. Awesome. Great defense attorneys will do a good job of that. But what are you doing? You see, it's crucial for you to narrate your story. And that's one of the areas that I do a lot of close work on with our clients personally. It's really bringing out, fleshing out the reasons why you are worthy of the lowest sentence. You can't just say, I am sorry. You can't just say, it's not my fault. You've got to truly think about the stakeholders in that proceeding. As I said, it's a federal judge, most likely a former prosecutor. It's a prosecutor who's going to make you look bad. It's a probation officer who's basically going to reiterate or regurgitate what the prosecutor says. And your defense attorney who's going to say valiantly why you don't deserve a long prison term, but regardless of who the client is, that's what a defense attorney is going to do, because it's the paid advocate. There are victims that may speak. Who's the only one that can move the needle? It's you. It's the person who has been indicted. It is the defendant. And it's crucial that you position yourself for that sentencing hearing. That's an area that I work closely with my client, is to really do a colonoscopy on his life, understand his background, understand, his childhood, his relationship with his parents, his community activities, his contributions to society, what was going through his head that led to this problem. All of these different types of really crucial pieces of information, so that when the judge hears you, he sees you differently from every other defendant who hobbles into that courtroom saying what the defense attorney, what the judge expects to hear. I want a low sentence. No, you've got to do more than that. You've got to make a compelling narrative. And if you don't feel qualified to do that, I really urge you, use our services, because we can help. And we've got testimonials that'll show how we have helped. So in addition to that, we try to position you for the custody and classification system. You don't want to be the individual who thinks you're going to be serving your sentence inside of a minimum security camp and it's all going to be over. The reality is that the Bureau of Prisons is a bureaucracy, and it confines more than 200,000 people, but fewer than 20% of those people serve time in minimum security camps. 80% of those people are serving times in higher security levels. Now, I can assure you that regardless of where you are, if you use our services, you're going to be well positioned to succeed, thrive, prosper, truly crush it in that environment. I served time in United States penitentiaries, which are high security prisons. I served time in medium security prisons. I served time in low security prisons. I served time in minimum security prisons. And you know what's unique in each one of them? I always met business executives, white collar offenders, who truly believed that they were going to be in minimum security camps, but that isn't the case. In fact, there are many men serving time in high security penitentiaries, navigating their way through the challenges of dealing with gangs and walking through puddles of blood when they didn't have to. If they only understood the system better, if they only understood how to position themselves earlier before the pre-sentence investigation report. That's when it's really crucial to begin trying. But it's never too early and it's never too late to begin positioning yourself. I've got one good friend. His name is Dan. He was a CEO of an oil company in the Northeast when he got indicted. Unfortunately, he outsourced all decisions to his defense attorney, truly believing that fighting the government was the same thing as fighting a competitor, or trying to fight out for more market share, or trying to fight out for a better interest rate on a loan, or a better bond yield, or whatever the case was. But the reality is, when you're confronted with a problem with the criminal justice system, you're in a fundamentally different fight. And if you don't know how powerful your adversary is, then you don't know how to position yourself. In the case of Dan, he had an opportunity to get an 18-month sentence. He had an opportunity to settle his case civilly, but his course of action of truly believing that he was going to fight everything resulted in him not getting a civil remedy, nor did it result in him getting an 18-month sentence. By taking his case to trial, he was convicted, and as a consequence of the guidelines that were in place and the amount of loss that the probation officer attributed to him, he ended up getting a 17-year sentence. And with 17 years, I met Dan inside a high security prison, whereas he could have been serving an 18-month sentence. He ended up inside of the walls. We moved together from a high security prison down to a medium security prison. I met him again. I'm in a low security prison. And one of the things that Dan said is that if I would have had one weekend inside of prison, if I would have understood this at all, I would have made fundamentally different decisions. Don't be like Dan. Make sure that you understand what's ahead so that you can take that into your calculus as you choose to tell your defense attorney what is the best course of action for you. We also advise our clients on how to understand disciplinary infractions, the choices that you make, the consequences that can follow, because there are many. And if you don't know how to deal with the Bureau of Prisons, you can expose yourself to significantly bad problems. I'll give you the story of John. For example, another business guy went to prison. When he surrendered, he didn't have his phone number with him. And so he was in this unfortunate situation because he wasn't well prepared, that he surrendered to prison and they didn't have his paperwork in order. So they locked him in the segregated housing unit, the SHU. While he was in the SHU, his counselor came along and said, I want to put your phone numbers on your list. Unfortunately, he didn't remember all of his phone numbers. He just remembered his wife's phone number. So he put her number on the list. Well, a couple of weeks later, he gets out of the SHU. He's on the compound. He goes, of course, understandably, wants to make a call to his wife. But don't discount what I just said. A couple of weeks later, he was in the SHU for a couple of weeks. What's the SHU? It's solitary confinement for 2 weeks, totally traumatized. You just come into prison, you've got nobody, you're locked in a SHU, you're going out of your mind. That never had to happen to him. This is in a minimum security camp, okay? But because he wasn't well prepared, the paperwork wasn't in order, he reports surrenders to prison thinking everything's going to be awesome. Instead, they lock him in a solitary cell where he waits for 2 weeks for things to be cleared up, signs a little form regarding his phone issue. He gets out of the SHU. He's on the compound. He makes his first phone call, so hungry, so excited to talk to his wife. His wife says, your mother really is worried about you. She's nervous about you. She really wants to talk to you. He says, put me through. Normal thing, right? 3-way call. You're on the call. Yeah, patch me through. Because I can't call her. I don't have her number. I'm like, hey, Mom, I just want to tell you everything's okay. Everything's good. I was in the SHU. There was a paperwork mix up. My lawyer didn't help me with that. I'm sorry, but everything's fine now. Ah, cool. So calms everybody's nerves, goes back on the count, on the yard, What happens? He hears a couple of hours later, his name is called over the loudspeaker, called the lieutenant's office. He surrenders to see a lieutenant, and the lieutenant proceeds to give him a disciplinary infraction. What for? Made a three-way call. It's against the rules. He said, but I didn't know. Today's my first day. He said, no, you've been here for 2 weeks. It wasn't in your handbook. He said, I didn't even read the handbook. I don't know what it means. He said, well, it's in there. You got what's called a shot. They call it in prison a disciplinary infraction. As a consequence of that disciplinary infraction, he didn't know what he was doing. They end up giving him a sanction. Guess what the sanction is? 1 year loss of telephone. Okay? You don't want that to happen to you. You need to understand the disciplinary code. You need to understand the disciplinary infractions. That's the type of consulting that we offer if you've got the time and energy and resources to work with us. But you can also download our books if you don't have the resources for personal consulting and learn it yourself. My advice to you, learn everything you can. Learn about administrative remedies. Learn what steps you can take to position yourself for the best outcome. Learn about transfers in the event that you need to get closer to a different prison. Understand what you can be doing to transfer from prison to prison. Understand about educational opportunities. What are your options so that while you're in there, you're able to emerge, you're able to use every day of your sentence in a productive manner. Don't be full of happy talk about what you're going to do. You have to understand what you can do and the mannerisms in which, or the exercises you need to take in order to ensure that you're making progress. Understand healthcare. A lot of people surrender to prison. They've got medical issues, but they got to understand what their options are. They've got to understand what types of medication they can take with them, what types of medication will be available to them in federal prison. They should understand the different opportunities for early release. What are they, and what can I be doing to position myself for that early release? How? I can tell you, if you learn too late, it doesn't matter. Okay? You've got to begin positioning yourself before you get in there. And if to the extent that you know everything about residential drug abuse program, about halfway houses, about alternative sanctions, about supervised release, about executive clemency, well, that's when you start positioning yourself for a better outcome. So you want to understand about supervised release and the levels of liberty that you can have. I can tell you that just because you're a well-educated individual who made a bad decision and you went to prison, it doesn't mean that that once the system gets its claws in you, they will not want to draw you back in. I mean, I've got a very close friend of mine who was 5 weeks away from concluding his term on supervised release, just couldn't wait to get the government off of his back. But then, unfortunately, his probation officer asked him for some documentation, and it resulted in him being what's called violated and sent back to prison. You got to understand that whole system. You've got to understand your new career. What will you do? What are you going to do with your life? You got to understand how the violation process works, why people get returned to prison, not for committing new crimes, but for some technical issue that is so absurd and ridiculous to the normal person, but it's just a complication for those of us who have gone through the criminal justice system. You got to understand recidivism, that once you get this number on your back, it becomes so easy to be drawn back into the system, not only to bring you back in, but there's this problem with intergenerational recidivism where it's like they're going after your kids and your grandkids. This is a growth industry, and it's truly important to educate yourself and position yourself so that you are not going to be one of those individuals who have continuing problems. And how do you do it? You got to understand, what must you do? Because this truly is your life. And you need to take a best practice approach to preparing. You need to make sure that you value your time, invest your time now wisely, invest your resources now wisely, because you do not want to be outsourcing every decision to defense attorneys. You do not want to be isolating yourself from individuals who can truly guide you. As the old Chinese proverb says, if you want to know the road ahead, ask somebody who's walking back. I am walking back. Not only did I come back strong with my dignity intact, but I came back roaring strong, ready to live as a successful citizen, just as you can do. It doesn't happen by accident. If you are ready to begin building your life, really urge you to call me. contact us. Really work with my partner, Justin Paperny. Use our products and services, because you will see that you may have some questions of what the pricing is. You're going to find that out from Justin. I can't really give it to you all at once because I don't know the status of your case. I don't know how much time is going to be necessary. But what I can tell you is we have products and services of every type. You can see their Earning Freedom. I was ranked number 2 on iTunes. I never got to the number 1 spot, but I'm going to be launching a new podcast soon. Nevertheless, I have more than 125 podcasts up there. That is a free resource. You want to know the price? That's free. If you've got the time to sit there and listen to 100 plus podcasts, then I really encourage you to do it, because you will learn an awful lot about the journey ahead, not only about my experiences, but also about the experiences of countless other people who have gone through the system. You're also going to, may want to read a lot of books. As I showed you, I've written a number of books about the prison system, but I don't know that you have the strength of mind to be reading right now. If you do, then by all means, go to Amazon.com, look at my author page. It's Michael G. Santos author page at Amazon.com, and you'll see all of my books and courses. Also, as I told you, we've got a number of lesson plans that you can download at a very reasonable price. Each one of those lesson plans costs $50. For $50, you're going to get the benefit of my 26 years in prison. Everything I learned, you can work through them. It'll take you a couple of hours to get through each one of them. But they will educate you. They will help you understand questions that you should be asking yourself as you prepare yourself for the journey ahead. You could also enroll in our Blueprint program at federalprisonadvice.com, where it's a membership-only site. And you pay a one-time membership fee, and it gives you access to all of our training and videos and everything else. But we can help. We are here to solve our customers' biggest pain point, and do not underestimate the pain point of being indicted by the federal government, because it doesn't only influence you, it influences your family, it influences your children, it influences your future. And if you consider that important, my question for you, how valuable would you consider it to listen to somebody who's gone through it before you and to learn about the decisions that they made that allowed them to come back strong? Because I can tell you that doesn't happen for most people who go through the system. So we help through our expert advice, through podcasting, through books, through literature, through personal consulting, through our sentencing narratives. I really encourage you, contact my partner, my friend, Justin Paperny. You can call or text him at any time. His phone number is 818-424-2220. You can reach him at jp@federalprisonadvice.com. You can always send me an email, michael@michaelsantos.com. Again, but I really encourage you to reach out to my partner, Justin. He will set you up and make sure that you're getting through this strong in a disciplined way, and make sure that you understand how you can position yourself for the best possible outcome. Our brands, oh God, it looks like my skills there building that last slide were not as good as I would have liked. But follow me on Twitter. I'm at Michael G. Santos. That's at Michael G. Santos. You can look at my website, michaelsantos.com. You can look at Facebook. Of course, I've got the Earned Freedom on Facebook as my public page. Also have prisonprofessor.com, linkedin.com, Earned Freedom. I'm on LinkedIn. Justin Sites, etikallc.com, where we feature a number of bloggers. It's part of our reputation management course. Earning Freedom is on iTunes. And of course, there's Federal Prison Advice. But ultimately, I really suggest that you call Justin Paperny. I'm going to leave that slide up on the last one. Give him a call. Let him know what time you'd like to talk. Let him plug into our email system, and you will receive our regular emails. If you don't have the resources to retain us, if you don't have the time to read books, at least you can learn from those emails. But both of us are very transparent. You can find a depth and breadth of information. And at the end of the day, we really, truly want to help you. If you've been indicted, we know it's a tough time for you and your family, and we want to help. So that's the end of this webinar. I wish this was a Q&A, but we'll do some live webinars as well coming up. But this is a free one, and we really just provide this for informational purposes to help you make better decisions. If you've been indicted, we can help. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you.